at radiovermont.com.
The energy.
So the barber trims my beard all nice, like an artist. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I wanted the beard gone. So then I went home and shaved it off completely after I was done. I felt horrible.
The passion.
Rafael Devers is the biggest contract in franchise history. He needs to be a leader for this Red Sox team.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Are the Patriots close to playoff contention? Yes. Are they close to Super Bowl contention? Hell no.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show back at it today here on a Tuesday. Full show, all 90 minutes. We go up until 7 o'clock, and then we give way to Jazz with George Thomas. This is our last full show of the week, by the way. So short show tomorrow, Red Sox baseball, kind of a spring training game for us. Make sure all the equipment works. That'll play at 6. Then we've got NCAA tournament coverage coming on Thursday and Friday beginning at 6. So this is our last full show of the week and a lot to get to. Former Catamount Hoops coach Tom Brennan will join us for the final time, at least, of the UVM season coverage. He'll be with us at about 6:05. Stuff on the Patriots, a really interesting discussion on the Celtics and Jaylen Brown. And I told y'all to watch the World Baseball Classic last night. I hope you did it. The show is brought to you by Fecto Homes, and you can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Watch the show, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and my Twitter account as well. Let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts available on the Brady Farkas Show text line. There you go. I'm reading one thing and saying another, and I've screwed it all up. The opening thoughts are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swat and Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swat and Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. There we go. That's a hell of a way to start a show. Let me address the grief that I'm getting on social media. Now, I'll say this. I am getting some support from some of you as well, but I am getting far more grief, and I really don't understand why. I said on Friday's show that I felt the UVM men's basketball team had a successful season, but that overall the program did not take a step forward this year. That's what I said on Friday. The clip went out on social media yesterday, and all these people are responding to it. And most of you apparently disagree with that sentiment. But again, I don't understand why. All right, and let's have an honest discussion. 802-585-3026. Let's have an honest discussion. I don't get why a lot of you are giving me grief, because to me, it seems fairly self-explanatory. This team, this version, the 2022-2023 University of Vermont men's basketball team, they had a great season. This year's team had a great season. They got to the NCAA tournament. They won their league. They were in first place. They had the conference title game on national television on their home floor. They provided me and a lot of fans with a lot of joy this year. Fun to watch, fun to follow, good storylines, great coaching staff, and a lot of excellent players. This year's team was great, and I loved it. But at the end of the day, the program to me did not move forward, right? Both things can be true. The season can have been fun. The season can have been great. The season can have been successful, but it doesn't mean that the overall program took a step forward this year. What does taking a step forward mean for the program? To me, it meant getting a signature non-conference win. That didn't happen. To me, it meant getting a higher seed than we've seen or are used to in the NCAA tournament. That didn't happen. In fact, this is, I believe, the lowest seed that UVM has got in the 7 seasons that I've been here. And moving forward for the program meant winning a game in the NCAA tournament. That didn't happen either. So what exactly is there to disagree with? The team had a successful season, and it should be celebrated. And whenever I talk about the 2022, 2023 Catamounts, I will look back at them fondly. We had great interviews. We had great relationships. I loved watching them play. I went to more games this year probably than I've ever gone to before. I liked this team a lot, but it's okay to also admit that in addition to liking this team and being proud of it, it's okay to admit that you want more as a fan. There is nothing wrong with that. And everybody telling me on Twitter that there is something wrong with that, I disagree with you. Right? Alex Abrami, Burlington Free Press, comes on our show. Had him just a couple of weeks ago. Great guy. He wrote to me. He said, I disagree with this. He said it was the biggest year-to-year turnover in Becker's tenure, arguably the toughest non-conference slate, including travel of Becker's tenure. They dealt with key injuries. They were 2-7. They still went to the NCAA tournament. That's all true, and that's all great, but those are all seasonal accomplishments. Those things impact this season. What happens this year doesn't impact the program moving forward unless you do the things that I said. Did you get a standout non-conference win? The answer is no. Did you pop up on the 12 line on Selection Sunday? The answer is no. Did you pull a Princeton-style upset? The answer is no. Right? If this team had beaten USC back in November, we'd be having a different conversation. If this team had gone, 9-2 in the non-conference instead of 4-6 or 4-7 or whatever before conference play, then we'd be having a different conversation because they would have ended up in a different spot in the tournament. If they had beaten Marquette, we'd be having a different conversation, but we're not. Okay, everything that a lot of you are saying to me is true, but they are seasonal accomplishments. They are not program moving forward accomplishments. Rob Ryan, voice of the Catamounts on ESPN Plus. We had him on this show a month ago. He disagreed with me too. He wrote, anytime you're in the tournament, you move forward. The exposure and the numbers show this. It helps not just hoops, but UVM overall with applications and numbers and interest. Winning 30 games and losing in the conference final would be a case of not moving forward. The exposure is good. Of course it's good. It's good to be on ESPN on Sunday morning. It's good to be in the NCAA tournament. It's good to have your name mentioned on Selection Sunday. But you know what? We've had that before. This program has had that a bunch of times. It's had it a bunch of times in the last 18 years. It's had it a bunch of times in the last 7 years that I've been here. We've had the ESPN2 game at 11 a.m. We've had the tournament game. We've had the exposure. We've had people picking UVM in brackets. I have been there and done that. Staying the same and having everything you've already had before is not moving the program forward. Again, we can be proud of what this program is and has done, but we can also want more. That is okay. It's okay to have bigger goals in life. Dustin from St. Albans gets in. He says, my reaction to your take is that it stinks. So now we're complaining about not winning enough? Another 20-win season. One of 3 D1 programs to do it for 14 straight years. That's not easy. 7th straight year with a player of the year. That's the second longest streak ever. Also not easy to do. I'm not complaining about not winning enough. I appreciate what has been built. And if the program stays here ultimately and doesn't get better but doesn't get worse, then I will still take joy in the seasons that we have access to, but I am allowed to want more, and you are too. I am allowed to want this program to reach its ultimate ceiling. That ultimate ceiling isn't winning a national title. It's not getting to the Final Four. Heck, it's probably not getting to the Elite Eight. But the ultimate ceiling is beyond just getting to the tournament. And if you think getting to the tournament is the only ceiling that this program has, then I think you're doing it wrong. I'm not asking for unrealistic things. I'm not asking for this program to get to the Final Four. I'm not asking for them to pay their head coach $1 million. I'm not asking for them to blow out the recruiting budget and now do it 3 times bigger. I'm not asking for any of that. I'm asking for this program to be in a spot where they can win a game in the tournament every single year, not once every 18 years. And that should be okay. And you should be supporting me rather than just telling me that, nah, we're good with where we're at. You should always want to move as far as you possibly can, and this program can move farther. Not much farther, but it can move farther, and I want to get them there. And look, I am not a UVM hater. In fact, quite the contrary. I am a UVM fan. And a big one. And because I am a UVM fan, I see more out there and there's more meat on the bone. And I want to chew off every last piece of that meat. Again, I'm not asking this program to become Gonzaga. I'm not asking for them to get to the Sweet 16. I'm asking for the arena to get done and for this team to be a consistent threat at a 12-13 seed so they have an opportunity to win games in the tournament. So they're a constant, realistic threat, and so they can achieve it. That's not too much. Don't tell me that just winning the league is enough, because it's not, and you can't possibly believe that. Gonzaga gets to the Sweet 16 every year, almost. Right? Gonzaga has been a great story for 30 years. And guess what? They've never won a title. They've done everything else you can do. They've been a 1 seed. They've gotten to the Final Four. They've gotten to the title game. They've been knocked out early. Gonzaga has done everything you can do in the tournament. And you know what? None of you were impressed. Why? Because you know the ceiling is a title, and you won't give them credit until they win a title. We're kind of at the same point with UVM. They have won the league. They've gotten to the tournament. I've seen them be a 13 seed, a 14 seed, and a 15 seed. I like all of that. Every trip to the tournament is great. But for me to now be really happy, the next step needs to get taken. And that next step is getting on the 12 line. How do you do that? Well, you have great recruiting classes. You win a couple of games in the non-conference. You go unbeaten in your league, and then you get a break on Selection Sunday. It's really hard to do. I get that. But that's the next step, and it's probably attainable. It is. If the College of Charleston can get a 12 seed, it's attainable for UVM. If Siena can one day get a 9 seed in 2009, then it's obtainable for UVM to get a 12. And don't tell me that it isn't. And the next step for me to really be impressed by what UVM does, or to really be satisfied, is for them to win a game in the tournament. If they win 1 in the tournament, I will not be greedy and ask them to win 2. I will say, okay, they may have reached their limit. I promise you, I will say that. But for everybody telling me that I'm being selfish or unrealistic or asking too much or not appreciating it enough, that's just that's nothingness. I appreciate this team a lot. There's a reason why we talked about it so much. There's a reason why we had almost every major contributor on this team on this show. What this team was doing this year was special, but this year is over. So now I am looking forward to what happens next. And what happens next is figuring out how can we move this program the little bit further that it needs to go. This program has not reached its ceiling yet. It is hard to get there, but it has not reached its ceiling just yet. Look, the Buffalo Bills for a long time they never made the playoffs. Now they've made the playoffs a couple of years in a row. They've been to an AFC title game. And you know what? The expectations have changed. Now it's not about, oh, let's just get to the playoffs. Oh, let's just beat the Patriots. Oh, let's just win the division. Now it's win the Super Bowl. That is how Bills fans are feeling. Cincinnati Bengals had 2 great years. Got to the Super Bowl 1 year, got to the AFC title game the next. You know what? This year wasn't a step forward. Still a great season, not a step forward. Travis over in Milton says, only in Vermont is the same ending every season seen as growth. It's not a step forward if you didn't actually move forward. I would agree with that. Like, that's said a little more callously probably than I say it, but the sentiment is true. We've done everything we did this year has been done. I want to go beyond it. Texter is Kevin, says, I agree. It was a successful season. They grew as the season went on, but that West Coast swing at the beginning was brutal. Got to win those. Yeah, I mean, if you want to accomplish the things I want to accomplish, you needed to beat a USC. You needed to beat a St. Mary's. Instead, you got beat by 20 by St. Mary's. Got beat by only 2 by USC. You were in that one. And then got pummeled a bunch of other times. Yale, Iona, can't have that. Texter says, the program has moved forward. The future depends on coaches and players available. I love you, Brady, but maybe decaf. I don't drink coffee. I don't need a decaf. Never had a cup of coffee in my life. I like beer. I like cigars. I like the occasional gamble. That's enough vices for me. Coffee, I don't need. Right? Coffee, I don't need. So I'm good. I don't need a decaf. I'm just passionate about the Cats. And I'm passionate about getting called out on Twitter and told that basically I'm not appreciative. I am appreciative. I was there sitting courtside the entire playoffs, the last day of the regular season on Senior Day. I was there. I took off a day in December just to go watch the Cats play a day game against Toledo. I was invested in this team. And I'm invested in the future of this team as well. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, at WDEVradio.com. You can continue to get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. There's a guy that I didn't want the Patriots to retain, but I didn't want him to sign here. And that's exactly what happened last night. I'll tell you who it was next.
Here in Vermont, it's now easier than ever to recycle computers, television, batteries, household paints, fluorescent bulbs, and mercury thermostats. Special recycling programs let you drop off these items at participating locations for free, since you can't toss them in the trash. To get details on where and how to recycle special items in your neck of the woods, call 1-855-63-CYCLE. That's 1-855-632-9253, or visit VTRecycle.com.
While Vermont has weathered the pandemic relatively well, COVID-19 infections are still occurring, and many Vermonters are still unboosted, leaving them more susceptible to severe infection. Also, doctors are reporting a new, even more infectious variant circulating in the region and across the country. Every Saturday from February through April, from 9 to noon, the Health Center in Plainfield is hosting free vaccine clinics for the general public, and no appointment is necessary. Vaccines will be available for COVID-19 and influenza for all ages. Keep in mind there are no longer any public COVID clinics. COVID vaccine and boosters are only available now at your local doctor's office, at the pharmacy, or at the health center in Plainfield. Be wise, immunize. For more information, call the health center at 454-8336. That's 454-8336.
Radio Vermont Group Director of Digital Marketing, Nathan Wright, explains the use of geofencing.
So the best part of any digital product we offer is that we can set up geofencing. And basically what geofencing is that you can tell us what part of the country or even the state benefits your business. So for example, if you have a pizza shop in central Vermont, it doesn't make sense to have any ads showing up in Burlington or Bennington. We'd set up a geofence around the 20-mile radius around your pizza shop so people would only see your ad in that area.
Curious about how geofencing digital advertising can benefit your business? Find out more about geofencing and all of our digital products at rvgdigital.com. To learn more about digital advertising with the Radio Vermont Group, including samples of our work, go to rvgdigital.com.
Hey, y'all, I'm Kelly Clarkson. Every American dreams of creating a better life for his or her family, but in some communities, those dreams face difficult challenges. When we come together to help those in need get the same opportunities as everyone else, we truly are making our country a better place to live for all of us. So look for volunteer opportunities in your community to help others achieve the American dream, all right? This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I'll get to that Patriot story in 1 second, but a texter says, I guess all this speaks to the recruitment potential you were talking about at garnering the best players possible. UVM faces an uphill battle. I'm not denying that. To get to where I want to go, it's hard. But UVM has been on the precipice of that for almost the entirety of the 7 years that I've been here. Right? They've had players that have earned, been nominated for All-Americas or mid-major All-Americans. They've had players of the year. They have been one guy that's in the NBA, multiple guys that have spent time in the G League, multiple guys that have been pros overseas. They have been there. It is possible to move the program forward. It is. It's hard. They have a lot of players now to replace. I don't know that it's going to happen next year, but we didn't think they'd get close this year, and they did. They got to take that next step. That is what I want. All right. Damian Harris, the Patriots running back of the last couple of years, who they previously took out of Alabama a few years ago in the draft, signed last night a one-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. I hate this. In fact, I really, really hate this. And it's a tough one because I was perfectly fine with the Patriots not having Damian Harris in 2023. I'm not bothered that he left the Patriots. I'm not bothered that the Patriots let him go, but I'm very bothered that he's ended up in Buffalo. That rubs me the wrong way because that feels like a place where he's going to go, contribute in a huge way, and come back and stick it to the Pats at some point this season. That's what I didn't want to have happen. Ramondre Stevenson is a better all-around running back than Damian Harris. He's a better pass catcher than Damian Harris. He's a good pass blocker, too. So it was absolutely the right move by the Patriots to make Ramondre Stevenson the featured back. And it was the right move to not re-sign Damian Harris because we know about giving running backs second contracts, etc. He's a guy who's dealt with injuries, a guy who isn't a great pass catcher, a guy who's not a great pass blocker. But seeing him go to Buffalo, that makes my stomach boil a little bit. We know they are a pass-first offense in Buffalo. We know their running game was lacking, and Harris helps them address their weaknesses. And I'm not for the Bills getting better than they already were, right? Bills don't have a lot of weaknesses. One weakness they had, toughness, the ability to run the football with someone other than Josh Allen, the ability to salt away games. They were a little soft. Damian Harris addresses that. Is he going to get 1,400 yards for Buffalo? Probably not. They don't need him to because they have Josh Allen. But what can he do? Be fresh at the end of games, take the heat off of Allen having to run, and him and James Cook can be physical on third down, on fourth down, in the red zone, and when they are looking to end a game, a couple of which will be played against you. That is what I don't want. That's what I don't want. The Patriots don't need Damian Harris. The Patriots have Ramondre Stevenson. The Patriots have Pierre Strong. They have Kevin Harris. They have James Robinson, who they just signed. They have running back options. They have versatile running backs. They don't need Damian Harris, but what they didn't need was for Damian Harris to go to one of their divisional rivals, who they're going to see twice in a year. Last thing I need is Josh Allen throwing it up and down the field on the Patriots in November, and then Damian Harris salting away the victory. That's what I don't need to see. James Cook, Damian Harris, bruising physical players that can take the pressure off Allen to run and can help them finish games and finish in the red zone and finish in short yardage. Life just got tougher today for the New England Patriots. And it's been an off season where life has seemed to get nothing but tougher for the New England Patriots. The Bills now addressing their weaknesses in the run game and physicality. Miami getting better defensively by getting Jalen Ramsey. The Jets about to get better at some point this offseason by getting Aaron Rodgers. Getting a year 2 from Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Life is tougher for the Patriots, and I'm not for that. I'm not for that. Patriots did need to bring back Harris, but I really didn't need to see him go to Buffalo. One other Patriots note, Albert Breer, the Monday morning quarterback, was on television last night and says one of his biggest concerns for the Patriots is their plan or lack thereof at tackle.
Like if Riley Reif is starting for you this year, that's a real problem. And it goes back to like some of the old stuff we've seen with Belichick in the past. He played for Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. He's got a lot of experience in the league, obviously. He also has the same agent as Belichick, which is an interesting twist to all.
That's a red flag.
So, like, I think now you're looking at it, if this is what the tackle situation is going to be, are you going into the draft with no flexibility? Like, you have to spend the 14th overall pick on a tackle.
I don't know that the 14th overall pick has to be spent on a tackle, but the Patriots hit the concerns by Breer at the tackle position are certainly real, right? They're certainly real. And you know what it's emblematic of? The Patriots have issues of a lot of different spots. So no matter where we were in the offseason, there was likely to be holes on this roster. That's just the state of where the Patriots are at. Patriots were an under 500 team a year ago. A lot of holes to fill. They've gotten maybe lukewarmly better on offense. Maybe. Right? If you consider Juju Smith-Schuster and Mike Gesicki an upgrade over Jonnu Smith and Jacoby Myers, then they've gotten lukewarmly better offensively, but they've lost Jalen Mills on defense. They've lost Devin McCourty out of the secondary. The offensive line was already bad. There's a lot of holes there. Multiple tackles, DB help, number 1 receiver. I think they need another pass rusher. They need another safety, I think, as well. So there are a lot of places to go. Do I think they're locked into having to take a tackle number 14 in the draft? No, I don't. But I think they got to take either a tackle, a DB, or a wideout. Those 3, I think, are above all else. DB, tackle, and wideout are probably the top 3 needs on this team right now, as far as when you look at number 14 in the draft. If Mac Jones is going to be the guy, and all indications are that he's the guy, then you definitely need to protect his blind side. You definitely need to give him as many offensive weapons as possible, and you'd like him to have a good defense. And I would say, again, all 3 of those positions are in play at pick number 14 in the draft. The draft is coming up here month and change from now. I always love the draft. What I don't love usually is the lead up to the draft, but I think the Patriots are an interesting team this year in that they have so much to do and so many different places they could go that I'm interested to see what they do. I hope they don't disappoint me like last year when they, usually they trade back out of the first round. I hate when they do that. Last year they drafted a guard. I hated that. Year before that, they drafted Mack, and I wanted Justin Fields. So the Patriots have disappointed me multiple drafts in a row here, but let's hope that this year they don't. Let's hope this year they don't. It's hard to believe. I feel like the offseason is going very fast. I was worried everything was going to go really slow once football ended. Not the case. We got really into UVM. Once football ended, we got spring training started right away, pretty much. Then we got the World Baseball Classic. Now we're 9 days away from opening day, NBA, NHL. Celtics have been great. They're not so great at the moment. Bruins have been great. They're trying to get back to being great. A lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff going on, and hard to believe. Kind of at the office, like post-football, things are still moving. Everybody thinks the sports calendar stops post-football. I think it's done pretty well. I'm getting grief on my UVM take. We're going to go to the guy who's the builder of said program. What does he think of my thoughts on the Catamounts and the state of the program. Tom Brennan with us next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Security's ramping up now ahead of former President Trump's possible indictment tomorrow. WTOP's Mitchell Miller is in Washington.
The use of temporary bike fencing has become more frequent in the wake of January 6th, and the fencing surrounds the Capitol complex. Capitol Police have not indicated any specific threats directed at the Capitol, but are reportedly prepared to have additional officers ready later this week if needed.
But security's tightening in New York, too. CBS's Graham Cates.
There's a huge security apparatus here, but in terms of protesters, there's maybe a dozen or two protesters in support of Trump, maybe a few more against Trump, but it's really not that big of a show of protest just yet.
Trump supporters are gathering outside of Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Many there are calling the indictment purely political. Thousands of school workers are on strike in L.A.
Thousands showed up in front of the school district headquarters to demand higher wages.
Bus drivers, let me hear you.
The entire street in front of the headquarters was blocked off and jammed with strikers and their supporters.
Everybody out here is not intimidated.
This woman has worked as a special education aide for 17 years.
We need to have a decent, fair wage.
The strike is set to last just 3 days, but union leaders warn there could be other actions if an agreement isn't reached. Steve Futterman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Russia and China's presidents released a joint statement today about restarting peace talks in Ukraine. But White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby's not buying it.
In President Putin and Russia, President Xi sees a counterweight to American influence and NATO influence, certainly on the continent and elsewhere around the world. In President Xi, President Putin sees a potential backer here. This is a man who doesn't have a whole lot of friends on the international stage.
He says any pause in fighting would only help Putin since he's suffered major losses. Controversial surveillance video is out in Virginia that shows a mentally ill man, Ivo Otieno, suffocating to death in police custody. Here's CBS's Jeff Begays.
At least 9 people are seen piling on top of Otieno to hold him down, with other hospital staff observing what's happening.
7 deputies and 3 hospital staff members now face murder charges. Beach dolphins are dying in New Jersey. CBS's Matt Piper.
8 dolphins that washed ashore in the southern New Jersey beach town of Sea Isle City have died. Initially, 6 were found alive and 2 died, but the Marine Mammal Stranding Center says the 6 dolphins' conditions were rapidly deteriorating and officials decided to euthanize.
More than a dozen dead whales have also washed up on nearby beaches. This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
It's been tough talking to my doctor about constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. I finally laid all my symptoms out there and how they keep coming back. She said I may have irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. We agreed it's time to try something different.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Visit a doctor in person or online. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Deep-pocketed fans of English novelist Jane Austen Take note.
I believe we must have some conversation, Mr. Darcy.
Jane Austen heroine at a ball, which could have been held at Steventon House, the stately home her prosperous brother built on the site of the rectory where Jane grew up and where she wrote some of her novels. The $10 million price tag will leave many of us fainting on our love seats. But fear not, the house where Austen spent the last 8 years of her life and wrote 6 of her novels is a museum open to the public for a lot less than $10 million. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London. Dodge just unveiled its fastest gas-powered muscle car ever. The 2023 Charger SRT Demon 170 can go 0 to 60 in 1.6 seconds. The automaker says it's faster than some electric supercars from Tesla and Lucid, but it's also its last one. Stellantis wants to stop making gas versions of the Dodge Challenger and Charger this year. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
He led Vermont to its greatest win in program history.
Oh, my goodness! Sorrentine hit that one from the parking lot.
He's the architect of the Catamounts basketball program.
Vance Jennings, UVM.
And he's with us now. It's time for our weekly talk with former UVM basketball coach Tom Brennan on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Tuesday on WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. He's joined us every single Tuesday of the Catamounts season, and we're still going to talk, but this will be the last time we talk in Catamounts season. UVM men beaten by Marquette last Friday, 78-61, ending their tournament run. And joining us now, the architect of the program, the guy who started it all, TB. Tom Brennan, how are you, Coach?
I am wonderful, Brady. Thank you for asking. Just doing great, decompressing a little bit. I have still a couple more weeks with the Sunday show, so I got to hang in for a little while longer, but we're getting near the end, kid.
Do you want to start with the good news, or do you want to start with the controversy that I have found myself in?
Oh, Jesus. You in controversy, man. You wear it like a damn cape. Let's start with that so I can help you out of your troubles.
Okay, so I am catching a lot of grief on social media, and the reason why is because I said that the UVM men's basketball season was undoubtedly a success. Won the league, got to the tournament, a lot of turnover with the roster, overcame a bad start. The season, undoubtedly a success. That said, I'm catching heat for saying the program did not take an overall step forward this year. How do you see it?
I know why you're saying that. Well, I don't exactly know why you're saying it, but I know that we were together in early January after that wretched West Coast trip and Bahamas and all that, and really wondering, like, could this be the year? Could this be the year where we aren't it? And I know there was a lot of people that were questioning that, and obviously that didn't happen, you know. So I thought this team from December overachieved without a doubt, and they took care of business. They took care of the newcomer in Bryant. They took care of everybody, and did it, you know, pretty handily. So no, I would not. I don't know. Well, tell me why you said it. Why don't you think or where are we supposed to go? I mean, are you thinking we should have another win by now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I just think moving forward at this program involves a couple of different things, none of which happened. Getting the arena done is a program moving forward. That hasn't happened yet. As for what the team can control, moving forward is getting a signature non-conference win. That didn't happen. What the team can control moving forward is getting enough non-conference wins to get a 12 seed, which we've never gotten before. Getting a 15,
which is never going to happen. Go ahead.
Look, if you go 30-3 and beat a Kansas in the preseason, it could happen, right? And that didn't happen.
And then going on, my boy. Go ahead.
And then moving the program forward is winning a game in the tournament, something that hasn't been done now in almost 20 years. I'm happy with where the season went. I'm appreciative of the ride. I enjoyed watching it, and I can appreciate all of that. but I can also want more. And I think what's realistically attainable is getting a win in the tournament. Don't tell me Princeton can get to the Sweet 16 and Fairleigh Dickinson can win a game and Vermont can't, because I'm not going to buy it.
Well, come on. You think Fairleigh Dickinson can win another game? You think
They've won one
next year? No chance. These are miracles that are happening. Not when you get to the Sweet 16. I'm not going to say that about Princeton at all. They got there and they were legit. They were better than Missouri that day. But I just think it's hard when you're always pushing uphill. We're always always. And and I've told you this a few times, my boy. And nobody wants to hear it, but I probably shouldn't even say it because it seems a little disrespectful to my guys. But we didn't play good against Syracuse. Everybody knows that. They didn't play good. We didn't play good. Mo Bajila played out of his mind, and we were able to win that game. Since then, we have played 4, to my thinking, way better games than we did against Syracuse and lost them all because it's hard when you're a 13 or a 14. Now, what do we need to do to get to be a 12? You said it. Okay. We need to win a game on the road, a good game on the road, most likely, and get up around, 27, 28, which we've been up around for the last how many years since he's been here. We're always in that neighborhood. So I don't know. I appreciate your desire, and I appreciate your like, hey, this is what we need to do. But I'm just telling you how hard it is, man. It is, and I'm not being a baby about it. I'm just telling you that it's really, really hard to do that. We had Kansas beat. We had UCLA beat back in the day. We didn't get them. We didn't get either one of them. Would I have traded either for Syracuse? No, not for a minute.
TB, let me talk to you about what can be done from a team building standpoint to put you in a better position to win a tournament game. Because what I said yesterday and what I really believe is this. I think UVM needs to be all in on recruiting shooters. And it doesn't mean they don't have shooters now. They do. But what this team was lacking was the ability for all 5 guys to be a threat from the perimeter and all 5 guys to be versatile enough to score in that way. I think this team. Of course it is, but we're talking about trying to do something that's hard to do.
We're talking about trying to do it. I'm just saying, when you put you know what I wanted? When I was here, I wanted all lefties from Vermont. That was my goal. I wanted to recruit 5 lefties from Vermont. I couldn't even find them. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, the circumstances are. I know. We're all and you kind of speak for the people. I do believe that you speak for the people. But I'm saying, okay, I'm going to listen to your argument. It certainly makes some sense. But you weren't here in 1986, man. No. 1986. I'll tell you that too. But it's hard. It's really, really hard to do what we've done, to continue it and to be better at it. That's all. Just hard.
Let me ask you this then in a more simplistic way. Gonzaga has gotten to the Sweet 16 a bunch of times, right? They've been to the Sweet 16. They've been to the dance. They've been to the Sweet 16. They've been to the title game. And it's gotten to the point where people are like, unless they win to the title, I'm no longer impressed.
That's it. That's it. I mean, and that's where we live.
That's kind of where I'm at with UVM. A little bit nicer about it. Like, I appreciate what UVM has done, and I love watching this team play. And if at the end of the day they just end up being this good, then I'll walk away and say they were fun seasons, but I will always wonder if there was just a little bit of meat left on the bone. And I think it's fair for me to want that.
I agree. But let me just add, this good is real good.
Yeah.
For where Vermont comes from, what our resources are, what our, the whole 9 yards. I am, and again, I used to coach here, so I'm not the right guy to ask. But that being said, and again, you put me on this spot to say, how about this team? Overachieved without a doubt. Now, sadly, when we played Marquette, we kind of reverted back a little bit, and you knew it might happen, and it did happen. And if it happens against the number 2 seed, you're going to pay, and that's what we did.
Former Catamount Hoops coach Tom Brennan with us here on the Brady Farkas Show in WDEV. A couple other questions I had yesterday I want your opinion on. And look, I don't have any inside knowledge on this. I'm going to assume that you don't either. Aaron Deloney, we don't know what he's going to do. I think what he does is a huge question mark for this team moving forward. And I could see any of the 3 possible outcomes. I could see him foregoing his last year of eligibility and going pro and trying to make money and play in Europe. I could absolutely see him coming back and trying to take this program to that next level that I'm talking about. And I could see him saying, hey, I've given 4 years to the program. Let me take this last year for me and go transfer like Steph Smith did. What would you advise him to do?
Well, I love the kid, first of all. I would advise him to stay here with us for one more year because he is not only loved by me, he's beloved by the community.
Yes.
But the inside with him, Brady, is that he is such a tremendous leader. He's got no real ego for a scorer that he is. I remember reading some remarks that he made about Robin Duncan, and I'm saying this guy's a peer of Robin Duncan's, and he is just such a tremendous leader. So I selfishly would want him to come back because of leadership. I'd want him to come back and be the sixth man again. I don't even know if how he would think about that. But his leadership is off the charts, and we're losing a lot of guys, and we're losing Robin, of course, who's was a big leader, and so I'd love to see him come back. I don't care really what he does, except for the fact that I love the kid. I think he's a wonderful guy, and I'm so impressed with the fact that he came 3,000 miles and never thought about leaving. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So my best hope is that he stays and has a great fifth year for us next year.
You know, the coaching situation will continue to come up, and there's already been a lot of dominoes that have fallen that can open up opportunities for John Becker. So the Providence job is open. I would say there's a chance he could just be a direct link there. I've heard him linked, at least lukewarmly, to Holy Cross. I've heard, Notre Dame's job is open. Who gets that? And then, what job opens up as a result of that? And is John Becker a fit there? I think the Becker coaching conversation could reignite this offseason.
Well, I think it has to. I mean, he's just done so well. And the idea that, to me, he's been the best coach in New England, arguably, for the past 12 years. Not arguably. He's been the best coach in New England for the past 12 years, record-wise, without a doubt, or however long he's been here. And is it not the logical next step for him to go to Providence, to go from Vermont to Providence? It makes no sense to me that is not even done yet. I can't imagine that it's not. Now, obviously, we don't want to lose him, but if he can go make 4 times his salary, then you got to consider those efforts. And of course, it being in the Big East is a big deal. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's been there. Rhode Island, UMass both came up last year. How could he not be a viable candidate for these jobs unless he just doesn't want to go? That could certainly be the case. He's got a nice life here. He's got a lot of great friends. He's got a great program. So, but I do think he's the kind of guy that would like to attain the highest he could get, and forget the money. Forget the money, of course, is life changing. But the idea to say, man, you start out as the 5th guy on Vermont's bench. You were an IT guy in Washington when the coach brought you along, and now 20 years later, 15 years later, you got the best record in New England. You got a chance to possibly go from there to the Big East. I would think that would be really tough to turn down if they liked them, if they want them.
TB, it's been a lot of fun talking with you every week here during the season. Like I said, we will continue to talk, and we'll talk next week too, but it'll be the last time we really talk about the Cats, at least in terms of on-court stuff here. I know you've got a TB's Poetry Corner reading for this week as well.
I do. I'm feeling particularly good about this one, my boy.
Okay.
The name of this epic is called Boeheim. Well, like all good things, it eventually had to end. After 62 years at Syracuse, Jim Boeheim is going round the bend. 62 years. Say it slowly. John F. Kennedy was president. Now, lots of folks go to the Cuse, but how many become 62-year residents? It didn't appear that he was ready, and he stumbled with the press. And as amazing as it has been, it's probably for the best. He sometimes seemed cold and gray, kind of like his city. But when you talk about the studs he had, they were blue sky pretty. Now, what we have is the Santos update. We are trying to get Santos thrown out of Congress. So in my poem every week, I have a Santos update. This is this one. Santos update. Boeheim had 1,015 wins. It's really hard on the eyes. Actually, just a fewer wins than that creep Santos told lies. In my personal career against Jim, I've had a little success. I'd be thrilled at 1-0 against anybody, especially one of the best. It was a major part of my life, and I would never put him on the spot. But in fact, he was in the building when Sorrentine shot it from the parking lot. Dominant in the Big East, if he could have stayed where he always won, but from the Garden to a Waffle House in Greensboro, man, that can't be any fun. Hey, yesterday was history. Tomorrow's a mystery, but today is a gift. Grab it and rip it over like a 5-year-old at Christmas. Back to my controversial host, Brady Farkas.
TB, you're the best. We'll talk in 7 days.
See you soon.
Yes, sir. There goes Tom Brennan, the former Catamount Hoops coach. Sometimes TB has a poem. I'm told that was a long running thing in the Corman the Coach days. So when he's got a poem, we let him read it, and that one pretty darn good. TB is awesome. By the way, I want to thank him for making time for us every week. Sometimes the shows are live on, sometimes the interviews are live on the air like this one. Sometimes they're taped and put up on the podcast channel, but every week without fail, TB makes time for us. He did it for the last 4 months of the UVM hoops season. He talked with us leading into the Catamount season, and we will talk again. I don't know if it will be every week. I imagine TB is going to have some vacation, but we will continue to talk, and those will be out there still on the podcast channel. And they won't all be live moving forward as we get into baseball season and out of basketball season, but a lot of good stuff there. And a couple quick takeaways from what TB had to say here. One, he also is worried about John Becker being in the mix for other jobs. I am too. Again, I've said this a bunch. I don't know the impact of the Anthony Lamb rape allegations on his candidacy in other places. I do not know. So assuming he is not radioactive to other places, I am absolutely worried about him potentially leaving, right? Providence, that TB said, is absolutely a very, very fair and a logical connection to make. I don't know that he'll get that job, but it's a logical connection to make. This has always been the path of coaches. You start out in a small place, you end up in a big place. This is a regional connection. He's proven he can recruit this area. He's got connections to the Midwest. It's not that far from where his kids are based, as far as I understand. So Providence is a logical connection. But there are multiple jobs out there, and there will be even more jobs out there. And then so those big jobs will get filled, and then other medium jobs will need to get backfilled. I am worried about Becker being in the conversation also. And I'm sure, and what I know is the frustration around the lack of the ability to get bye games, home games, and the arena done, then I know, that maybe this could be the time where Becker concedes to leave. I don't want him to from a basketball perspective, but I understand he will be in the running for other jobs if he's not radioactive from all this Lamb stuff. TB also wants to see Aaron Deloney come back next year. That doesn't surprise me. I asked TB, what would you advise him to do? And TB just kind of spoke from his heart. He wants to see him back. That's not really answering the question. And that's okay. Everything TB does when it involves UVM hoops is with his heart. He can't look at it objectively. And that's why we love him. And I understand that. Maybe I shouldn't even have asked him the question. He wants Aaron Deloney back. You know what? I want Aaron Deloney back. He's fun to watch. He's an excellent player. He's a leader, as TB said. He's one less piece that UVM would need next year. But as I said yesterday, if I were him, I would transfer. Right? I would transfer. And now look, that's easy for me to say. It's far easier said than done. I don't have the connection to the fans that Aaron Deloney does. I don't have the connection to the community that Aaron Deloney does. I don't have the connection to the university, to the professors that Aaron Deloney does. I know he works with Ernie Duncan Hoops, and they're pretty tight together. I don't have that. I don't have unfinished business here like Aaron Deloney does. So it's all true, and so it's very easy for me to say. But if I were Aaron Deloney, I'd want to go test the waters. I'd want to go test the transfer portal. I would. I've given UVM 4 years. I've been away from home for 4 years. I've been 3,000 miles away for 4 years. My friends have my classmates have graduated. I've been to the tournament multiple times. Now I want to go do one for me. And I don't think it would make him selfish. I don't think it would make him a bad teammate or a bad guy. It would never color my opinion of him. But that's what I would do. At least I think that's what I would do. And TB says, he seems to agree with a lot of you. He thinks that I am asking too much when it comes to UVM. And that's fine. He's a legend. I'm just me. But overall, I'm sorry I'm not sorry. I see something as attainable for this program that hasn't been attained yet, and I want the program to get it. And I'm not going to be satisfied until it does. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for having big goals and big dreams. Look, for a very long time, right? I've talked about this famously forever. The Seattle Mariners did not make the playoffs for 20 years, right? 20 years. They made it this past baseball season. First time since 2001. I said for a bunch of years in a row, man, I would love to just make the playoffs. They don't need to win the World Series. I just want them to get there. So when they got there this year, I truly had no expectations. They won a wild card series against Toronto. That was more than enough for me. Yeah, they got swept against Houston, and yeah, it hurt. But ultimately, I was okay with it because they achieved my goal. And you know what? If they get back this year and lose in the same fashion, I'll probably be okay with it. But if they show, like the Buffalo Bills, that they can get to the playoffs over and over again, eventually you got to break the door down. The expectations change and the times change. And it should change for all of you when it comes to UVM. It's not just good enough to just get there. It shouldn't be. And if I got to be the only one on the island saying, hey, let's push it a little bit further, then I'll be the only one on the island. And I'll take the social media hate and I'll wear it. And I'll be the guy pushing for the next step. Well, all of you are okay with 15 seeds and 17-point losses and content to just clap after and say, it's okay. I'm happy for the players that get to experience such things. I love it for them. I'm happy for me that I got a whole season worth of investment justified in this program, but I want the next step. TJ says, although I agree Becker can and should leave, as UVM has done nothing to upgrade as far as progressing, I happen to agree with you. After some research, Becker does seem to be a red alert for programs. But Becker would be a good choice for Providence, American Holy Cross. I agree with you. Keep pushing the limits for UVM. Why not? I would love Becker to stay, but if he goes, who replaces him? That's worrisome, to say the least. I've said this before, and I think there's three ways that this goes. If John Becker leaves, there's three ways that this goes. One, he takes his whole staff with him and nobody on staff is available to replace him. Okay? That could happen. But Ryan Schneider, who's the associate head coach, who's been here for a decade, he could step in to be the head coach. He's been here, knows the culture, knows the program, has been a part of the winning. Ryan Schneider, if he doesn't leave to be an assistant with Becker somewhere else, he could be the head coach. That would be a choice. Choice two would be Kyle Saplicki. Played here, native here, first family of Vermont basketball, was on the team with TB in 05 that beat Syracuse, was an assistant for a lot of years, and has now had major conference years as an assistant, 2 years at Pitt. This year they get to the tournament. Kyle Saplicki would be a choice. And TJ Sorrentine would be a choice as well. Right? There'd be three logical choices. TJ Sorrentine would be the third one. Right? One of the most legendary players in this program, the biggest shot hit in program history. He's been busting his chops to try to get a head coaching job. He's been at Brown now for more than a decade. He's worked. He knows how to recruit this size of school. He's recruited in the Ivy League where it's very, very difficult to do so, and is well liked, New England roots, and again, a huge connection to the fans. So TJ Sorrentine, Kyle Saplicki, they would all be great choices. Or they would all be choices. I don't know how great they are all as coaches individually. I know I like Schneider. I know I like TJ. I've only talked to Kyle Saplicki once or twice, but I've liked him too. So I'd say it's possible for all three of them to certainly be in the in the conversation. And I know that Sorrentine went for the job at Central Connecticut last season, not this season that's going on. Now, I guess, last season, 2 years ago, whatever, didn't get it. But I know he's looking to be a head coach. And by the way, his wife is a Vermonter. So I'm sure that would go over well in the home life. In that, if we're going to move from Rhode Island, at least we're moving back to my home state. So that's a good thing as well. Texter says, I could be on board with Sorrentine. Texter says, more of Coach Brennan's poetry, try to acknowledge his UVM views. I do acknowledge his UVM views. But we're allowed to disagree. Right? That's what this show is supposed to be about, right? This show is supposed to be about me making you think. That's what this is, right? If I had a co-host, the show could be about us yelling at each other and being entertaining. We don't have that dynamic, right? It's not me yelling at another guy and us fighting and being funny. So what the show is me trying to bring up topics that you care about, trying to give you my opinion, and trying to make you think. And sometimes you will think, damn, Brady, you nailed that one. You're right. And sometimes you will think, Brady, I just can't get on board. And then you will text in your thought, and then I will respond to it, and the show will move on that way. We're allowed to disagree. TB can have an opinion. I can have an opinion. You can have an opinion. That's the fun of this whole thing. Text says, TB is a legend. His poems are good, but he doesn't compare to the old Squire. Interesting. Marco and Warren wants to know about the World Baseball Classic. We are going to get to that, I promise you, in about 5 minutes, because I told y'all to watch it yesterday. I hope that you did, and it was pretty epic here, and we're a half hour away from the championship starting, which I'm going to be watching tonight as well. It is the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. But you know what? I'm moving things around. World Baseball Classic semifinal last night, Mexico and Japan, was awesome when it came to the Boston Red Sox. I'll tell you why. That's next.
Make your home your retreat. Fill your favorite spaces with fresh air, warm sunlight, and calming connections with the outdoors. Marvin Windows and Doors are designed to promote happier, healthier spaces in your home. At RK Miles, we will walk you through how the beauty, thoughtful design features, and unparalleled performance of Marvin products can help you feel better in your home. Visit us at rkmiles.discovermarvin.com.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results. Glenn Meek of Stowe Insurance Group tells us why he advertises with WDEV.
We're heavily involved in the community like we like to be. We feel they're an excellent partner for our advertising dollars. The market penetration is second to none in Central Vermont. We've been with them for almost 40 years, and we hope to be with them for another 40 years.
Advertising with WDEV gets results. Inquire today at WDEV at radiovermont.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code LIMO for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code LIMO for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code LIMO.
Sometimes families go through hard times and they need a little help. That's where you come in. By becoming licensed foster parents, you can have a profound effect on the lives of children, young adults, and families in your community. You'll provide children with kindness, understanding, and a stable place to live until they can reunite with their families. You'll give them time to heal, grow, learn new things, and develop connections with other caring adults. This will give the parents time to work on their issues and figure things out. You can care for the child of a relative, friend, or someone else in your community. All kinds of foster families are needed to care for children of all ages, needs, and backgrounds. To learn how your family can help another Vermont family, go to fostercare.vt.gov. That's fostercare.vt.gov. All families need help sometimes. When you help a family to get stronger, you lift up the entire community. Sponsored by Vermont Department for Children and Families.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, with a belief that local businesses like WDEV build strong communities.
Do you want to learn more about the free market perspective on important public policy issues affecting you, your work, and your community? I'm Bill Sayre, and I hope you'll do so by joining me in conversation with Vermont opinion leaders as we discuss how best to make Vermont an ever better and more affordable place to live and work. Common Sense Radio with Bill Sayre, weekdays 11 till noon.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, brought to you by Fecto Homes and always streaming at WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next from 7 until 9, then Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Coming up in a half an hour, we've got actually now 25 minutes. We've got the World Baseball Classic final between Team USA and Team Japan. And I hope you watched the semifinal last night between Japan and Mexico. I told you all to watch the semifinal last night, to watch Yoshida on the Japanese side, because he's probably going to be the Red Sox cleanup hitter. I hope you watched, because that was a classic game. It was a classic game in the classic. That game last night between Mexico and Japan had playoff level atmosphere here at the end of March. We don't get baseball like that in March. Heck, we don't usually get baseball like that until September. Last night was enthralling. You have a Mexico team that's up 3-0, Japan whose back's against the wall. And then with 2 on and 2 out, I believe in the 7th, Yoshida comes to the plate. Guy the Red Sox were panned for, giving $90 million over 5 years. He comes to the plate with 2 hits already under his belt, and he does this to tie the game 3-3 late.
Now the 2-2. It is hit high and deep down the right field line. Toward the corner. It is gone off the foul pole. Tie game. Japan. Biggest game. Elimination game. They've answered. The urgency.
I mean, Yoshida ties the game at 3. Mexico has it. It's now 4-4, or it was 3-3 still. And then another Red Sox player comes to the plate for Mexico, Alex Verdugo, when he gives them the lead right back.
Whiting, left center field. That's going to be a hit. And Mexico's going to go back ahead. Arenas in to score. Verdugo with the double. It's 4-3.
And then Mexico ultimately wins it on a walk-off double in the bottom of the 9th. And Shohei Ohtani leads off that inning with a double. Last night was great theater. Last night was great for baseball in general. Last night is what the World Baseball Classic can do for the sport. I was enthralled. And I don't say that facetiously. I was enthralled by the baseball game that I watched last night. It was a great night for baseball. It was a great night for Red Sox and the guys the Sox are counting on. I mean, Yoshida has been awesome. Okay? I mean, Marco over in Warren says, yeah, he's hitting 470. He hasn't struck out in the tournament yet. That's true. He leads the tournament in RBIs. He's got the most RBIs in the history of any tournament in terms of, single tournament output. I think he's got 13 of them right now. Yoshida's been awesome. And it's been fun to watch him. And I know the tournament has risk, and Edwin Diaz got hurt, and that's awful. And Altuve got hurt, and that's awful. And I would hate for that to have been a Red Sox player. But the tournament has been great. And if you are a Sox fan specifically, should have been thrilled at what you saw last night. Marco wants to know what I think of Yoshida. But I'm pumped for Yoshida. I can't tell you what he's going to do, but I can tell you that the skill set is there. We've all seen it. He's got great contact skills. He hasn't struck out in the entirety of the tournament. He's got power. I mean, what he did last night, that was a home run in the biggest spot of the game, left on left, a ball at his shoe tops that wasn't a strike with 2 strikes, and he golfed it out of the ballpark. Not many people can do that. Left on left, 7th inning, going deep to right field and keeping it fair, that's impressive. He's got the skill set. Now, there will be questions about how he can handle top shelf velocity. Every time a Japanese player comes over, that's a question that we have. Ichiro can handle it. Some other ones I'm sure couldn't. Right? Matsui could. Saya Suzuki had a pretty good rookie year last year for the Cubs while he was healthy, and we know what Ohtani's done. So clearly Japanese players have come over here and had success. Yoshida has the toolbox to be able to do that. Contact skills, power skills, not said to be a great defender and not said to be a speed demon. But offensively, he's got the profile that this team needs, and he can hit to all fields, and he could wear out the Green Monster the other way. I'm excited for him. And if he is good, that totally changes the calculus on this Red Sox team. Right? Totally changes the calculus on this Red Sox lineup. I said for a long time, Yoshida is kind of the key to everything here. The rotation for the Red Sox, we have questions about. The bullpen, we think should be pretty good, although Jolie Rodriguez now has the oblique injury. That's not good. But the bullpen, we think, should be good. The starting rotation, we're really iffy on. The offense is the swing thing, and if Yoshida is good, the offense swings even closer to that part of the team being well built. We love Devers. I like Turner. I think Casas has something special. I think Kike Hernandez and Arroyo can do well. Verdugo can be productive. If Yoshida is excellent, this offense goes to another level. I can't tell you how good or bad the Red Sox are going to be this year. I think they're a 4th or 5th place team. That's what I think. But I think that Yoshida can also be a very productive player. The projections call for him to hit around 20 home runs. If he does that, that'd be pretty good for his first year. If he hits 285, doesn't strike out a lot, has a 370 on base percentage, and hits 20 home runs and brings in 85, wouldn't you be thrilled with that? I would. That would be worth $18 million a year, which is what they're paying him. That would be worth it to me. Marco says, I can't tell if he's good in left, but he did throw someone out at home last night. Also, Fenway is a short throw from left. He's not said to be a particularly good outfielder. Like, offense is much more of his calling card. And if he does the offensive output that I just said, I'll be okay. Right? I mean, the Red Sox defense, I feel like, should be better. Kike Hernandez, we know, is a good defensive player. Seem to be okay with him at shortstop. So Kike and at short. Yeah, Kike at short. I like that. I like Arroyo, Casas, Verdugo. Duvall is said to be pretty good outfielder defensively. So I think the defense should be better than it was a year ago. If Yoshida is a good player, it totally changes the calculus. The whole Red Sox season is going to come down to how healthy guys stay, right? There's too much injury risk on this team. That's why I'm low on them and have them finishing 4th or 5th. If they stay healthy, they can be very good. But Yoshida, I think, has a chance to be very good regardless of what happens around them. It is the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Cam Newton, back in the news, and he wants back in the NFL. Does he belong back in the NFL? We'll talk about that next on DEV.
Do you own land with a single or double wide home? Visit Fecto Homes, where they can guarantee you top dollar for your existing mobile home, regardless of the year. They offer many finance options with competitive rates and down payment assistance exclusively for mobile homes. Fecto Homes has several models for sale off the lot or customize and order your own. Make the most of your time and money. Visit them today at 350 River Street, Route 302 in Montpelier, or online at fectohomes.com.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish. Sounds easy. It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
We were getting ready for bed. His dad was like, let's go to the living room and watch TV. And I was holding him. I was like, let's just stay here. We went to the living room and we were watching TV. And then I went back there to check on him. He was just face down. I feel so helpless in that moment. Junior is the only doctor's appointment. It was just you're aware of SIDS. You don't go into detail about it. Besides, don't put the baby on their stomach. That's all I heard. It's really not even that much out there unless you Google it. Doctors, they'll talk about miscarriage. I thought they should sit down and be like, okay, you're a mom. Let's just, practice this, practice that. If you could just change one little moment, it would change your life forever. My life will never go back to being the same. Josiah makes me wake up every day. He came at the right time. I don't know where I would be, mentally especially. Junior taught me love is all you need, and Josiah taught me how to love again.
For more info, go to firstcandle.org/safe sleep.
Whatever your interest, sports.
It would be monumental if they could come away with 2 wins, right?
Current events.
Vermonters are very used to a serious, deliberate budget process.
Weather.
Now, typically, El Niños and La Niñas have generally a weaker effect.
WDEV has a podcast for you. Locally produced podcasts of our own shows and podcasts from our partners at CBS and ESPN. To access the full listing of podcasts, go to our website at WDEVradio.com.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show brought to you by Fecto Homes here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. And you thought I was done talking about Cam Newton. Former Patriots quarterback Cam Newton, who we spent all of 2020 talking about, who we spent all of offseason of 2021 talking about, who I spent a lot of this 2021 season talking about and wishing he was still here. You thought I was done talking about Cam. Well, we're not done talking about Cam. Former Pats quarterback Cam Newton threw at Auburn's Pro Day today. And while Pro Day is a showcase for Auburn's receivers, tight ends, and running backs, it was also a showcase for Cam Newton. Cam yesterday, kind of out of nowhere, came out with this video on social media.
Tell me how these randoms keep getting jobs. Don't worry about it. I'm going to say,
I can't wait to see it. I love it. I love it. I'm seeing a lot of people trolling the idea, and it's official. I will be throwing at Auburn's Pro Day Tuesday. Ain't 32 better than me.
There ain't 32 people better than me. That's what Cam Newton has to say. 802-585-3026. Ain't 32 expletives better than me. One, I love the confidence. I've always loved Cam's confidence. Not everybody does. I do. You don't get to where Cam Newton has gotten. You don't accomplish what Cam Newton has accomplished without believing in yourself. So I am happy that he still believes in himself, right? He still believes in himself. Cam Newton is a guy got in trouble at Florida, junior college transfer, Auburn, Heisman Trophy, national champion, number 1 pick in the draft, huge $100 million contract, MVP, Super Bowl participant. You don't get to that without belief in yourself. So I'm glad that Cam still has it. I loved watching Cam play in Foxborough. I'm glad he still believes in himself. But I don't believe that Cam Newton is right. I did love Cam in Foxborough. You know that. We talked about him all of 2020. I wanted him to start over Mac in 2021. I did. But Cam Newton, to me, now is no longer one of the best 32 quarterbacks in this league. Cam says ain't 32 expletives better than me. I believe there are. This year I do at this point. Now, I will not say that all 32 starters will end up being better than Cam Newton. But a bunch of starters and a handful of backups will be better than Cam Newton. Okay? Maybe not every starter will be better than Cam. Right? We look at the Colts last year who played with Sam Ehlinger in that game I went to against the Patriots. I don't think Sam Ehlinger is better than Cam Newton. But are there 32 quarterbacks better than Cam? Yeah, I think there are. And at 34 years old, or just about to be 34 years old, I don't think Cam is in a position to go and totally reconcile his career in the way, or resurrect his career in the way that he wants to. Cam was never a precision passer. He's under 60% completion percentage for his career. Maybe you can get by on that if you have elite arm talent like a Josh Allen and make great Herculean plays with your arms, but that's not really Cam. I watched him today at the Pro Day throwing to a receiver with no defender, overshoot him. Like, even against air, Cam Newton was struggling with his accuracy. His video yesterday he put out, it looked like he was struggling with his accuracy. So Cam, not a great precision passer in terms of accuracy. I don't believe he's a guy who can make the Josh Allen Herculean play down the field. Remember Cam Newton's shoulder issue in 2020? The Patriots brought in Jarrett Stidham to throw a Hail Mary at the end of a game because Cam Newton couldn't throw it 55 yards anymore. So that's a problem. And Cam is nearly 34 years old. He can't possibly be the runner that he used to be. If you try to deploy him in that way, you're putting him in a position to get hurt. So he's not a great passer accurately. He's not a downfield passer in the way he used to be. And he can't possibly be the runner that he used to be. So as a result, Cam Newton, to me, is not one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And finally, I think this is very, very important to note, and I'm sorry to say it because it sounds weird, but it is true. But Cam Newton suffers from being too popular and too famous, and that teams don't want to deal with his star. You think I'm being crazy, but this is a true thing to me, right? This is a true thing to me. Cam Newton is such a big personality that if he is your backup, the minute your starter struggles, the coach is getting asked about Cam. And coaches don't want to deal with that. They don't want to talk about their backups. They don't want quarterback controversies. Why do you think the Patriots got rid of Cam? Because they didn't want his star behind Mac. Mac struggles week 1 when you go into Cam. Mac struggles week 2. You going to Cam yet? Mac struggles week 3. What do you think about Cam? Max struggles week 4. Hey, you had Cam last year. What do you think he could do against this defenses? Like, teams don't want that. And if you have a quarterback who is established, like let's say Cam went to Kansas City. Well, okay, he's not going to start over Mahomes. Well, then it's going to be, hey, Andy Reid, you got any packages for Cam? Andy Reid, when could we see Cam? What kind of scenarios could you envision for Cam? You got any running packages for Cam? Could we see any dual quarterback stuff with Cam? Coaches don't want to deal with that. I have seen this before. Tim Tebow suffered from this too. Was Tim Tebow such a bad football player that he couldn't be in the NFL? No. But if he wasn't going to start, if he wasn't going to be good enough to start, coaches did not want to deal with all the questions being about Tim Tebow. Colin Kaepernick had some of this too. I understand all I understand all the Kaepernick discussion, but people said if he's not going to be good enough to start, I really don't want to have to talk about him and have it be a distraction. I saw this in the NBA too. Was Jimmer Fredette so bad that he couldn't play in the NBA at all? No. But if he wasn't going to be a key contributor, coaches didn't want to deal with it. I lived this. Jimmer signed with the Knicks when I was in Albany, 10-day contract. Every day for 10 days, Kurt Rambis, who I believe was the interim head coach of the Knicks at the time, got asked, what about Jimmer? What about Jimmer? Hey, Jimmer got in for 2 minutes and scored a couple of points. What'd you see from him? Crowd was calling for Jimmer. Kurt Rambis hated it. And that's how these guys operate. Cam Newton, he could be in the NFL. Yes. Are there 32 quarterbacks better than him? I believe so. Are there 96 quarterbacks better than him? No. But coaches don't want to deal with the star, with the spectacle, and with the questions with Cam being on their roster. If he's not going to be a starter, then it's not worth it to them to bring a distraction into the locker room. That is how coaches view this stuff. And I'm sorry it's the case, but it is. All right. I was reading a text, and that's a cool text, but has nothing to do with sports. So I'll pass it on to the appropriate people. Go download the podcast, Brady Farkas Show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is next. Go watch the World Baseball Classic final. It starts in 4 minutes. I know I will.
Carswell's, Central Vermont's newest automotive